Which Bay Area city was known as the City of Beautiful Homes 100 years ago? I'm your host, Chris Eckert, and today we're going to visit two historic neighborhoods in San Mateo, California. Christina, thank you for meeting me today.
My pleasure.
Well, I understand that you are an architectural historian and you live in the city of San Mateo, right?
That's right.
So why don't you tell us a little about the city of San Mateo?
My pleasure. Well, San Mateo has a really long history. It started in 1793 as a mission outpost, and it acquired a stagecoach stop in 1849, which was, of course, the year that gold was discovered and people really coming to California. The railroad came through in 1863, and then the town incorporated in 1894. So the development of San Mateo didn't really begin until the 1920s, when these large estates were sold and subdivided into new residential neighborhoods. And that's when downtown San Mateo also really kind of came into its own. And I will tell you, this downtown is hopping on especially a Friday or Saturday night. There's so many people here. It's really a lively place to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for the overview of the downtown. How about we get out of the downtown district and let's head over to one of the residential neighborhoods, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, let's go. So Christina, behind us is the historic Glazenwood neighborhood. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so right behind us we have the pillars of Glazenwood, and they're in the Spanish colonial revival style, which matches most of the houses that were built inside the neighborhood. Glazenwood has a really interesting and kind of long history. One of the estates, this one was owned by a man named Alvinza Hayward. He bought this property in San Mateo, and then in 1880 he built an enormous Victorian mansion. So Alvinza Hayward died in 1904, and his mansion and the immediate property were converted into a luxurious hotel called the Peninsula Hotel. And then the rest of his 800 acres was subdivided into residential neighborhoods. So the hotel property was converted into its own subdivision, and that was Glazenwood. In 1995, the city of San Mateo recognized this neighborhood, Glazenwood, as a historic district eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places.
Well, what exactly is a historic district?
It's a great question. It is a geographic area, often a neighborhood or a subdivision, that is identified as historically significant. And it's really about the collection of buildings that convey that reason for significance.
What does it mean to live in a historic district?
So historic districts are often honorary. It's about pride of place and history and community. So if you live in a historic district, your investment may be protected. There are also sometimes incentives for living in historic districts. Some cities in California have, which provide a tax incentive, a tax break.
And I've done the research to show that the prices in this neighborhood increase 26% more and then 41% more on average than similar period homes in the rest of Hayward Park. So there is a benefit price-wise, appreciation-wise, to living in a historic neighborhood. What are some of the common misconceptions of living in a historic district? And the reason I say that is I've heard people say you cast the neighborhood in amber when it's designated historic.
So it isn't true that you can't do anything with your house. If you are in a historic district, you can actually do plenty of things. You can add on to it. You can certainly change your interior. One thing that's important to note, there's a little bit more allowance for change compared to if you had an individually designated historic building that's really scrutinized a little bit more. And actually the downtown historic district is a good example of this. There's been plenty of change, but it still retains its significance.
You mentioned about being able to remodel a house in a historic district. This house behind us is actually a perfect example of that. They have enclosed the porch, they pushed the front door out, they put new windows on, they put a big balcony on the side of the house. So they've done a lot of remodeling to it, to the exterior, but yet kept the same feel of it and didn't have any problems with the city making those changes. Well, Christina, thank you so much. I've learned so much about the history of San Mateo that I didn't even know before, so I really appreciate you sharing this time with us.
My pleasure.
I'm your host, Chris Eckert, and this is the American Dream.